The first rule of Fight Club is, you do not talk about Fight Club.
Okay.
Isn't the first rule of Fight Club, don't talk about Fight Club?
First rule of Fight Club, never talk about Fight Club.
The first rule of Fight Club, you don't talk about Fight Club.
What is the first rule of Fight Club, Proby?
Okay, Tony, you can barely turn your computer on, so no offense.
No one is supposed to talk about it. First rule of Fight Club and all that.
The first rule of Fight Club!
Gentlemen, welcome to Fight Club.
You can be a man of courage, of honor, of integrity. You can be the father, the husband, the leader that your family and your community needs. This is the Manlihood Mancast. Here's your host, Josh Hatcher.
We are live. This is
Hello.
2 for the year, 222.
Yeah.
First time I've ever been live. I've never done
You've
it.
never
even.
You did it at church?
Yeah, that was scripted though. I was like reading my notes. I don't have notes, so.
This is totally unscripted.
Totally unscripted. Well, we do have a slight agenda, some things that we're going to talk about, but we could deviate from that easily. But you always pull out a notepad just write really fast. So, I'm Josh Hatcher, and this is Abe Hatcher, the dapper young man next to me. This is Dwayne Edgar, and we've got Dan Karrasch.
Coming back.
Yeah, this is Dan and Abe's second night. Brian was going to be here tonight, but he had to.
Brian.
He had to go to a parent-teacher thing.
Priorities.
Family comes first.
Yeah.
So that's definitely important.
That's excusable.
So we've got some snacks. So Dan's got some coffee. Coffee's good. Did you put it in the Manlihood mug?
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Branding.
Nice.
I might just send that mug home with you, so you've got it.
You can tighten in on that?
That's awesome. So, guys, how's everybody doing?
Tired.
Tired?
Yeah. I'm here.
I did an interview on my lunch break today with a psychologist who does counseling, and he said that with men, when you ask them how they're doing, if they are depressed, if they're upset, if they're feeling anything negative,
They say
and
tired.
you ask them how they're doing, they say tired.
Oh, yeah.
Is that accurate?
That's 100%.
We got you on live. It's funny that you said that because he just told me that his name is Terrence Z. Johnson. He'll be on the podcast later in the year. What's
Shout
the
out.
Z stand for? I didn't ask him. That's a question I should have asked him.
Zebulon.
Zebulon. Okay, Terrence, if you're listening, you need to tell me what the Z stands for. Up in the chat and tell us.
Speaking of which.
So, where's the chat? Did the chat come up? Does it show up on our meet? See no chat. No? Maybe it will. If it does, hopefully. Let's see. It'd be awesome if we had it. Maybe I didn't do it right.
I don't think so.
This is the first time that we've officially done this live.
Yep.
So we tried it last month and had some issues, so it's all good. So my dog's going to bother you the whole time.
I know. He did last time. That's no big
He
deal.
thinks you're great.
Link.
I know. That's okay. Doesn't
So
bother me.
this is my living room, and I kind of just said, hey, what I want to recreate with this is the spirit of like the men's groups that we've done, and those are usually centered in the church and centered around God. We might talk about God, that might be part of our conversation, but it's more centered on manly, what it means to be a man, and what's happening in culture and those kinds of things together. But I want that spirit of camaraderie that we have when we talk about those discussions. And so my living room seemed like the right place for that. Because Dwayne, we've had a lot of conversations.
This is where it started.
This is where
Yeah.
Dwayne used to come over and have a lot of conversations with me in the living room.
It started with peeing in the bush at church in the parking lot.
Yeah, that's true.
At 11 o'clock.
Which bush? Which is probably not there anymore.
No, they're not there anymore.
No, you killed it.
That's very possible. That was back in 2007? 2000? Yeah.
That sounds like something that would have had alcohol involved.
No,
in the old days.
No alcohol.
Well, church got out. We had Saturday night church. We got out of church at like 9 o'clock, and we just kept talking. It might have been like 7 o'clock. I don't know. We just kept talking.
Yeah, it was like we talked.
My wife called, and she's like, "What are you doing? Are you coming home?" Yeah, just another hour, and it was another 3 hours. I don't know. It just sometimes you get in good conversations.
Yes, you do.
Believe them, you know.
This was my first group though at your house.
The living room looks a lot different than it did then, too, right?
Yeah.
This is a fun project. So, guys, Dan Robinson was also going to be here. He couldn't, but he had a topic that he wanted to talk about, but we're going to steal it from him and talk about it now because next month nobody will be talking about it.
Ooh.
So young people are dumb. And I mean no offense, Abe, as a young person, but young people are dumb. Do you agree?
Yes. Absolutely.
And there's this trend that they're I don't know where they came up with the idea, where they're cooking chicken in Nyquil. What?
What's the premise of it? Is there a premise?
So there's two things that I think are happening. Either it's not really happening and people are doing it as a joke, just to be funny, or they're doing it because somebody decided to try it. I don't know. Either way, it was so serious that a group of doctors and health professionals started warning people, don't try the Nyquil chicken that you're seeing on TV because it can kill you.
I mean, what? I don't understand it at all. What was...
Like, you marinate and cook the chicken in Nyquil.
That doesn't even sound like it would taste good.
Of course not. It's just supposed to be a stupid, silly thing. Like, I mean, it's the equivalent of like 4-year-olds making mud pies. You know?
Yeah, but you don't eat them. Even I knew that.
Abe ate them.
Did I?
No.
That would explain a few things.
Well, young people are dumb, so.
Yeah. Well, your brain is not fully formed.
Tide Pods, all that good stuff.
That's what I thought.
It's a very similar. Or maybe the toilet bowl licking challenge. And they were licking.
Yeah.
I think these young people need something to do.
That's exactly what it is.
It's boredom.
I don't get it. I don't understand it. And
I'm sure it just started as a joke.
I was actually tempted to make some just to see what's the big deal.
You could use the orange.
God.
The orange Nyquil.
Orange chicken. There you go.
Orange chicken. Actually, the Dayquil probably wouldn't be as bad.
Oh my god.
I mean, it would look better.
Just tell people it's turmeric.
Oh man.
I'm not sure. I think it's a lot like, whatever the random things on the internet. It might be somebody did it as a joke. It became something that somebody else did as a joke, and then it becomes a trend where they might not even really be eating it. But whatever it is, it's stupid. And
besides that, Mom's not going to like it when you do that to her pan. It's going to make a sticky mess.
And you don't have NyQuil when you get sick.
Yeah, there you go.
I do know that years ago, when I was a journalist, I went to this drug task force event, and they were kind of educating the public on the drug problem and what people were doing. And they were saying that a lot of young people were going and taking bottles of NyQuil and just drinking it straight. And they say if you drink about a whole bottle of NyQuil, it can, you can almost
get drunk.
Well, you can get drunk, but the cold medicine in it can actually put you in almost like a ketamine type.
Oh, good. Everybody needs to be there.
Yeah. And so they were warning, if you see kids that are walking around with a bottle of NyQuil, and then I know that was a trend again later where some rapper was, we would call it Slizzer or something, where they would mix it with liquor and treat the syrup like you would treat to make a mixed drink, but with NyQuil. I mean, I'll
doesn't
be honest,
even sound
if
good.
I'm sick, I actually like NyQuil. It makes me feel it knocks me out, and I feel better in the morning.
Yeah, but that's
what
the
it's
cup.
for.
That's it. The measuring cup.
Yeah, exactly.
Not the one cup. The measuring cup.
What are some dumb things that you guys have done in your...
That's a great question.
Yeah. I was trying to think of something we did.
Me and the
neighborhood friends, we would stand out in the road and wait for a car to come, and right before dark, and we would mooney the car, and we'd all scatter. And then one time we'd mooney the cop, and the lights flipped on, and we just took off.
Egg in somebody's house, stuff
Egg
like that.
So that can cause damage.
Yeah, it can. It's stupid.
But you've done it.
Oh yeah.
See?
I remember. We used to take those crab apples up there. We would just roll them on the street for cars to go by, and the cars would hit the apples, and the apples would just explode.
Just blow up.
Yeah, they would just.
So I just happened to think of a stupid thing.
There was a lot of stupid
I
things.
actually saw my buddy Terry this morning. Terry, I don't know if you're watching. I saw him this morning talking for a minute. There was a story about somebody in our friend group, some guys that would go out and they would go drag racing, and then somebody started doing car surfing. And we thought, that'll be fun, but let's do it in a controlled environment in the parking lot of the school. Just do donuts, not racing down the street. So I climbed up on the hood of his car, and I reached back, and it was a big old boat, because
But you got a hold of windshield wipers, didn't you?
Yeah, I got a hold of the windshield. When those windshield wipers were going to hold you on, back in those days, they were made of metal.
Yeah.
And I held the windshield wipers, and he did donuts. And I mean, he spun around and spun around, and I wasn't going anywhere, and it was fun. And then he spun around, and then I slipped, and I started to fall off the car. And so my instinct kicked in, and I rolled as far as I could. I'm trying to roll and push off the car. He was trying to turn away from me, but missed the direction that I was rolling, so he's actually headed towards me. Slams on his brakes really fast because he was right on it. He was smart. And he wasn't going that fast, so the back of his tire barked my heel. He gave me a stone bruise. Man, that hurt.
How'd you explain that to Dad?
I didn't. They found out years later. I just limped around.
Statute of limitations have run out.
We did stupid pranks all of us would cram into a car, as many people in a little car as we could. I think we got 30 people in a Ford Escort one time.
That's the clown.
Yeah, that's the clown in me.
Or prank phone calls.
Oh, because we had payphones.
Or there's the word that you can't say anymore when you knock and run. You know what I'm talking about?
That's the word you can't say anymore. They called it something knocking.
Yeah.
We called it ding dong ditch because we were politically correct.
Okay.
That's
who can't say ding dong?
Who can't say ding dong? What's wrong with you?
We would do that too.
We would call. There's so many dumb things. So there used to be a welcome to what life was like before the internet.
Mm-hmm.
There used to be 1-900 numbers that you could call, and a lady would talk to you in a sexy voice. It might be a lady, it might be a man that sounded like a lady. Talk to you in a sexy voice to get you hot and bothered.
Mm-hmm.
And it would cost you $5.99 a minute. Well, every one of those 800 numbers, or 900 numbers, also had 800 numbers that you could give a credit card instead. And so, if you thought of the filthiest, dirtiest thing that you could think of, and typed it in the phone number letters, you know how there's letters on your phone numbers?
Mm-hmm.
So we'd go out to the payphone at lunch break, and we'd call it.
Sorry.
Oh, you okay?
Yep. That's just my new pump talking to me. That's all.
But you could call the number, and you'd hear a short recording of a lady talking to you all breathily. Hey, big boy. And then, and so we'd call it, and we'd call it with our friends, like, hey, this is for you. And they'd be like, oh my gosh, that's so stupid. Or, later on, when I became a young adult and I worked for the phone company.
Did you work for the phone company?
We'd call those numbers and then forward them to somebody else in the office.
Nice.
So
at the phone company.
Yeah. So they'd pick up their phone and be like, hey, big boy. One day we get a call from a customer, and he is really upset. He ordered an 800 number. Because you could get your own 800 number, so you would pay for them to call them. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's the other thing, Abram. Back in those days, you had to pay to call anybody outside of your town.
Yeah, long distance charges.
And so if you wanted them to not have to pay, if you had an 800 number, they could call you, and you would pay for the call.
Yep.
So this guy ordered an 800 number for his family to be able to call him from payphones and stuff. And his number was 1888.
You read
whatever.
Oh, I thought you were gonna
like the word whatever.
No, it was 888 something. Oh, okay. Now, but 1-800 and whatever that number was.
But something else entirely.
So his family's calling him from the road, and they're getting, hey, big boy. So he calls, and he's all upset. And I'm looking at the phone, and I'm thinking, this is bringing me back. I actually, all those years of being a horrible young man, I learned a very valuable skill here, which is how to decipher what the code is.
Yeah.
So I look at the phone, and I'm like, it was 1-800-FAT-DIVA.
Oh my God.
So yeah, that was some of the stupid stuff I did.
God.
That's a good one.
That's funny.
Holding firecracker, tip of your fingers.
Yeah.
So you can do that. You know, who's the bravest? You know.
BB gun wars.
Yeah, BB gun. Roman candle wars.
Yeah.
Roman candle bottle rocket wars. Yep.
Making bombs. Did you guys make bombs?
Uh huh.
Did you make bombs?
Hairspray and lighter.
I think we would take like the the ones they throw on the ground. Just take like the gunpowder out of those and then make it into like a bigger one. It almost never worked right.
I don't think it ever would work.
But then we would like light it on fire and it would just go.
So we had a chemistry teacher who could not get us interested. Us boys were checked out. So he taught us how to make bombs. That's what we did. So we just made bombs for the rest of the year.
Oh.
And then we'd go up and we'd do it on our own in the stone quarry and blow stuff up. Like you can make I'm just going to tell this on the podcast. This might get me rated by the FBI.
Saltpeter, charcoal.
Statute of limitations. But just
you can still do it.
Giving the recipe, you might.
Oh well, okay.
So what we did is we would take aluminum foil balls and fill up like a Gatorade ball, about 3/4 of the way full. Mark a line where the foil balls ended, then pour Drano over it and seal the bottom. And what it does is, Drano is sodium hydroxide, and aluminum foil would react with the sodium. They would bond together, and it would release the hydrogen. And the bottle would get really hot, and then it would swell up, and the bottle would explode and just spray it. But we were in a stone quarry, so we set it off, and we'd be a mile away and watch the whole thing go up.
Right.
Nobody ever got hurt.
Yeah.
But I know that, there are people that would go in the city and just do that in the middle of an alley. By the way, young people, I would rather
Stupid thing.
I would rather you make Nyquil chicken.
NyQuil chicken.
Good gosh.
So apparently, young people were dumb then too, right?
Oh, that's the same.
Yeah.
Anything else dumb you did, Dan? That you're willing to share?
Probably not that I'm willing to share, but yeah, there was a lot of stupid stuff. Riding the car up down. You remember where Fernwood is up on top of the hill? One of our friends had a VW, and they just plowed it. They didn't sand it or take it down to dirt up there then. So we had an old car hood, and we used to lash it on the back of his VW, and off we'd go down the middle of that road, 40, 50 miles an hour. No, wintertime. Yeah. Put a helmet on right backwards, which was real smart. I mean, there was no steering this darn thing.
Right.
So. It seemed like the top of the Hedgehog was the favorite place to do a lot of things that you got in trouble for. There used to be a fire tower right there. And they had a big field underneath it, and that's where we went for our bottle rocket wars and Roman candle wars. Thank God we never burned the place down. But like Grandma's trash can lids were always disappearing. She's always cussing the trash man out for taking them and not returning them. So.
Well, the next thing on my list, guys, is another. Speaking of dumb things kids are doing these days, and I don't want to be that old man that's like, it's kids these days. But there's this stuff that's happening. I just don't understand, and I want to be careful how we talk about it because this could go in a certain direction. When I start talking about it, you'll know exactly what I mean. And I want to be careful because I don't want to necessarily get my channel banned for saying certain things. So you'll know what I mean when we start the conversation.
I'm scared to talk myself.
Don't be afraid, but you'll know what I mean. I saw an article today about a young lady who in her school she identifies as feline.
As a cat.
Mm-hmm.
And there are young people that identify as canine.
Mm-hmm.
And they go to school with the ears and the tails, and they meow.
They have
give response to the teachers.
They have litter boxes.
And I've heard that, but I have not been able to confirm it.
I mean, I'm assuming it would vary depending on the individual, probably.
Vary on the school district.
Yeah. I've heard that there are litter boxes, but every time that somebody says this school has a litter box, then the school comes up with a statement saying We do not have litter boxes. But we encourage creativity, blah, blah, blah. And this is just ridiculous. I don't understand it at all. Like, now, you know where I say where I'm going, that where I don't necessarily want to go.
This is what we're talking.
I do believe, I'll say this, I believe there are two genders, okay? That whole discussion we could have, I'm not afraid of having that discussion, but I'd rather have that discussion offline than have it online and get my channel.
And what are we ranked educationally worldwide?
Exactly.
Like 50?
Well,
40?
and the other trend I've seen, and this is very similar, but ridiculous, is we've got these young kids identifying as, like, autistic. Like, I identify as autistic. Or I identify as, and then they'll pick whatever mental illness. Yeah. There's no diagnosis. They're craving a diagnosis.
That is completely, absolutely freaking wrong. That's beyond the pale. That's taken this thing too far. Just like, I think if you were to get inside the mind of these kids with the cats and the dogs, I think you're going to find out that in a lot of them, this is, let's see how far I can push this.
Sure. I think that statement right there may encompass even further into the discussion that we don't want to go, right?
Yeah, it probably
how far can
does.
I push this? What kind of mess can I make?
Yeah.
With a lot, like, with a lot of these kids.
Or hey, this is a cool way for me to get into the girls' locker room.
It could be. Or the cat's locker room, apparently.
That has happened.
Yep.
I think what a lot of it is them having a lack of identity because they don't go out and, try and do anything for themselves, and yet, so they don't have an identity, and so they try to figure out that by just saying, "Oh, I'm this, I'm that, this is who I am," and then that's not enough, and so they go deeper and they go deeper. They say, "Oh yeah, now I'm a cat. Now I have schizophrenia and like 38 personalities." Like, it's more of a problem with these people not having any way to emotionally express themselves without having to throw a bunch of labels on it. It really hurts. It really hurts just to see it. Years ago, when I was working at the newspaper, which was a fun job because all the crazy people would come in to visit, and one day I hear the ladies say, "Oh my gosh, there goes the furries again." And I look out the window and there's these people walking down the street.
No.
Full mascot costumes.
In Bradford.
So I'm like, guys, I'm going to take a break and I want to go find out what's happening here. So I go and I talk to them, and the one lady's got this big black, and it's a really, like, she must have spent a lot of money on this mascot costume.
They spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars, if not thousands.
And it's a big black head, it looks like a wolf with like green fur along the ears, and and it's cute. Like, it looks like you'd see like at Disneyland or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's cute. And I just thought, I'm going to be friendly here. I'm going to be friendly, and I'm going to ask questions so that I can understand a little better. And so I'm talking to the lady, and she sounds like she's either she's a young adult, not a kid, And I'm like, so what? I said, I don't mean to be rude, but it's a lesson Dan taught us last week. Correct me if I'm out of line, but I have a question here. and I said, why are you dressed like this? I said, I really just genuinely want to know. I'm
How
not
long
judging.
ago was this?
This was like 5 years ago.
I'm thinking like this is like extremely small.
No, furries have been around for a long time.
Very sparsely.
No.
This is like more of a...
This is Bradford, think about it.
And so I just said, so what is why are you doing this? And she said, well, if I could be, if what is inside me could be on the outside, this is what I would do. Like, I said, so what's on the inside? And I said, again, I'm not being rude, I'm just trying to understand. So who you are on the inside is a big black, cute, fuzzy wolf with green trim on your hair. Yeah. Okay. I said, it's like 90 degrees out here. Aren't you hot? Yeah, but it's okay because I love it. Okay. I said, does it get snowy inside of there when it's hot? She said, yeah, a little. Yeah.
Honest, anyways.
I would have went right for the jugular. Nice. what are your morals?
Well, I'll be honest. Some of the things with the whole furry nonsense, like my uncle is a firefighter out in Indianapolis, and he's a first responder, and they've had several calls where there've been children, raped by people in a wolf costume.
Yeah.
Like there's a sexual side to some of that. I don't think that
To a lot of it.
I don't think that was happening with these people, but there is to a lot of people.
It is like I'm a young guy. I've talked to a lot of these people. A lot of them won't admit it. But the overwhelming majority is it is definitely a very sexual thing. Sometimes it's like with it's like an attraction to real animals, and sometimes it's like cartoon stuff, but it's
Anime.
just
cartoon stuff.
Anime stuff like that.
Well, if it's all about how you feel and everything's relevant, then anything goes. There's nothing.
That seems to be the issue these days. Anything goes. You can do supposedly anything you want is good with anybody else, and nobody else has a right to speak out against you. And there we go. Now we're into a political. Right away, we're into a political conversation.
No, it is, and that's okay because that's part of it. I just want to be careful to not do the things that got the Babylon Bee banned off Twitter. Do you know what I mean? I want it, in that sense. I will say it privately. I just don't want to get my channel shut down when I'm trying to build it.
Yeah, understood.
But yes, the political side of it, though, and that's where this comes down to. It's like we, as a culture, have abandoned any sense of this is right, this is wrong.
But I don't think that's political.
This is my truth. No, but it overlaps.
Right.
I think it goes that way because you think about it. If you want to be like that in a school, which to me has absolutely no place being in a school, but
that in the school, how can they wear this?
Yeah, but if you go that way, it's like, okay, we want to be all inclusive.
Right.
Inclusivity, I think that's the word, goes towards politics. Politics has opened that up so far that there is no longer anything wrong. I mean, take a look at, okay, fine. I want to go to New York City. I'm going to kick in, Fabergé's window, and I'm going to walk out with everything under $1,000. But I can do it because that's what I want to do.
Right.
But I'm not going to get in trouble for it. So I think it moves towards that way, that because we have gone to the point that everybody has an opinion, but nobody has a right. Or is that the other way around? No, I think it's everybody has an opinion, everybody has something they want to do. But I'm sorry, but where's my right? Where does my right start? And I think that we've gone too far that other way. America has always been inclusive. There's no argument there.
The only reason we can keep going in the directions that we keep going is when what is removed as standard, basic truth. When that is taken away, then anything else can be put in that position.
Okay.
That's fine.
I'll agree.
I think that is the heart of the matter.
Very.
And I think Abe talked about this too when these kids are desperate for identity. And I think it all kind of ties in together, right? So one of the things I've read over the years is you learn your gender identity, or you learn even your identity in general from your father. Your father is who teaches you who you are. That's part of the psychological process.
Yeah.
Now, your father can screw it up, and that also has a lot to do with, even if he does it wrong, it has a lot to do with you learning who you are later. Because you are going to wrestle through that father wound. You're going to wrestle through the things your father said about you to understand who you are. Or the things your father didn't say about you that he should have said about you to learn and understand who you are. I don't know how accurate it is. I know that I've heard it. I know that when I think about it, it rings true.
I think the breakdown of the family has a big contribution to it.
I mean, people can definitely grow up in spite of someone. It's I think influence goes. It perforates no matter what, no matter whether it's good or bad. But I definitely think that these kids are struggling to know who they are. Nobody's told them, you're not a cat. Like, are people afraid to tell them?
No, nobody has come down and through and said, take the damn stuff off. This is not the place for it, nor the time for it. Get rid of it. We've got a class to teach here, and you're in the middle of keeping us from people learning and teaching things.
And
so,
academics.
And the same with the mental illness. Now, so like, let's look at that. Like I know that autism, for example, is a spectrum. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have someone who would be on this side of the spectrum who has all of these traits. You have somebody on this side of the spectrum who might have a couple of the traits. And when they're on this side of the spectrum, they're a lot harder to diagnose because they don't have all of the traits that you would see on this side. So, I've had people ask me when I start talking about my childhood, the way I grew up, the way I related with other people. "Oh, you have autism spectrum?" I'd be like, "I don't think so. I think I was just weird." But so what's happened is these kids they're getting on TikTok or Instagram and they're learning about gender stuff. They're learning about cat stuff. They're learning about mental illness, and they're absorbing this content because it makes them feel connected to something. This person, you mentioned schizophrenia, so there's symptoms of schizophrenia, right? And this kid is thinking, I feel those things sometimes. Sometimes I think that I hear voices in my head, because I think everybody hears voices in their head sometimes.
Mm-hmm. That's called thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Everybody has, that's called your conscience. That's called temptation. Everybody has those things to a degree. And so this kid who's struggling with who am I, then gets latched onto this because they identify with a symptom. And now you've got this community of people welcoming you in and identifying with you. Not real people with schizophrenia, but people with faux schizophrenia. Welcoming you into this community. And gosh, I think that's so dangerous. And then you have sometimes smart parents who are like, I'm not taking you to the psychologist to get you diagnosed for schizophrenia.
Or they just get medicated.
That happens too. They go to the doctor. Or they learn all about the symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Then they go to the doctor and they say, the doctor asks the questions because the doctor has a rubric and it's like, you have to have this and you have to have this. And you have to have this.
Oh yeah.
I have that.
I have it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then they get prescribed a medicine that they don't need that probably gives them psychological problems that probably manifest as schizophrenia.
How easy is it to prove that somebody is or isn't, faking something?
You can't. Not if they're good. Not if they're good.
If they make it their entire identity.
Physical signs, physical symptoms, really hard to fake because you've got to be able to show it. Like, I've got a rash all the time. You have to be able to show that. Okay, but stuff that goes on in the mind, whole different story. Whole different story. You wouldn't believe some of the stuff I could take from old cases of being EMT, but it just. Okay, I can't. I'm going to play the old card here.
Play
Old card.
Play it. Old guy.
These, so many of these people that I see that are acting out in class and they're loud mouth and they're doing this and they're doing that and they're changing whatever they feel like changing and they screw with everybody around them. In the old days, I won't even say old days, back in the 50s and 60s when I grew up, yeah, thank you. One of my kids told me that, I rode a dinosaur to school today. Jeremiah, as a matter of fact. So,
Back in those days.
Back in those days, you didn't do that stuff. You had a code of expectation. And I think you said breakdown of the family. I think that's part of it. And I think the code of expectations has gone away. I've always believed, and you saw me in scouting, stuff like that, we had a level of expectation of behavior, of manners, of things like this, performance. Most people, when you set expectations, will live and strive to those expectations. I think those started disappearing about the same time the nuclear family started disappearing in the 60s.
Yeah.
Okay, I really do believe that's when it started disappearing. Thank you, that was my bunch that we did this. We listened to Dr. Spock. And that was the wrong thing to do. The switch went out the window. The you'll eat this or you'll go hungry tonight went out the window. These are the clothes that I bought for you. My God, did you wear to school? You know, things like this. I think those went out the window when we started giving kids who really have no business making choices like this a choice. And I'll probably get the most mail against that of anything else.
100% right.
But I think this is what's happening in so many places. Plus, you know, I'm listening to what you're saying about wanting to belong. I can understand wanting to belong someplace. Every single one of us wants to belong someplace. Okay, we've got a club we want to belong to. I'm not sure where this idea came from to make these clubs that the kids today are trying to belong. Social media is a part of it, yeah, because things move so much faster now. I mean, stuff that we say in this is lightning. It's already in China. If we've got listeners in China, it's already there. You don't have to wait for it to be filtered through people that can think about it and you know, I'm gonna say critical thinking. We all know how to critically think. Okay, so many of the things that are happening now have never really been thought out because they move so fast. We don't have a chance to think about it and figure out how we're going to tell people these things or talk about these things. It just moves quick. Things that we learned, history, okay, American history. We took everything in context. All right, now it's, what does they call it?
They don't even teach
present. What do they call it? There's a word for it, presentism or something to that effect.
Right, where you reinterpret the past in the lens of the present.
Yeah, in the lens of the present.
So that would be like looking at Columbus Day and saying we shouldn't celebrate Columbus Day because Columbus, now we know that Columbus did X, Y, and Z, so we're not going to honor Columbus Day.
Yeah, but we're not thinking back in the context of the time when these things were said. It's just like, okay, maybe, okay, you're thinking about, pick something out of the air. You're thinking about X, Y, Z behavior, all right? And you start talking about it now, before we even have a chance to have a good conversation with other people, the cat's out of the bag. It's already over the place. So, but we don't have a chance to think about it and dissect it and work at these things before they're introduced. Could you imagine if the stuff that George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and those guys thought about when they were writing the Constitution, okay, or the Declaration, if it had been like it is today, lightning? Oh my Lord, what a mess this country would be. We'd be worse off than we ever thought of being. And I think that's what's happening with a lot of these things, that somebody says something, oh, I think this is a good thing, and there it goes. And we've got people jumping on the bandwagon who have never even thought about this, read about it, nothing. My 2 cents.
Nyquil chicken.
Yeah, Nyquil chicken, perfect example. You know, it's stuff like this. But yeah, I think, or wearing your cat ears to school.
Keyboard warriors that don't really know the research other than the title to an article.
If it's even that. Let me pull this out of my...
Everybody needs to have an opinion. They know what they're talking about.
And they have to share.
Yeah, they have to express it and be like, I'm on this side because...
It's easy to say whatever you want when no one can punch Right. Right.
Yeah, you're right. But take that next. No consequences. There's no consequences of thought or discussion or debate.
And that's half the problem with the internet and social media as well. Like if you said something that offended me on the internet, I have the choice to I could block you and never have to hear from you again.
Unfriend you. Yeah.
Unfriend you. I could attack you, and respond. But the bottom line is, if we sit down and we have a conversation,
Right.
and you say the thing that I thought was offensive when I read it, and you say it, and I realize, wow, he's actually saying this from a place of kindness. He's trying to help me. Even though I disagree with him, he's trying to help me. And then I don't want to react to that in a way that is hurtful to you because I see your kindness behind it.
Right.
When I see your eyes. And
That's
your
the
face.
problem with these little bricks that we carry all over the dang place.
And you can't see that kind of dialogue through letters.
No, you can't. You can't. There's absolutely, LOL or whatever you want to put after the words, or a smiley face or a heart or whatever. It's not the same as sitting here talking.
I was listening to a podcast recently. It was John Acuff, who's a writer, was talking to his daughters on the podcast, and they were explaining that young people have completely different rules in texting each other. Like, they don't use capitals and punctuation. And when their parents will text them and put a period at the end of the sentence, it gives them anxiety.
It makes them think that they're mad.
It makes them think that they're mad.
It's English. It's sentence structure.
But that's what's happened because it has gotten so fast and so quick and so rapid that a whole set of social rules has evolved.
Is it devolved or evolved? Because I think that's devolved.
That is devolved before anybody had a chance to even realize it happened.
Right.
It's like you've written letters. I know you have. To Zoe and to girlfriends, things like other people and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure you have.
Not at the same time.
No, you know what I'm talking about.
But I don't have girlfriends while I have my Zoe.
Okay, okay, fine.
I know what you mean.
Abe, are you a letter writer by any chance?
I mean, I've written some when I was young, but I guess we've kind of evolved past it.
All of us, that was the way we used to communicate.
That's evil.
And you learned also to speak the nuance of your language. You could put, periods in and punctuation marks, exclamation points, everything. I mean, you can even put a colon in your language, or semicolon in your language that you're speaking.
Mm-hmm.
That's not there anymore in texting.
Or
well, if you want to put it when you're texting, if you want to put a semicolon in, it's like 4 extra little keystrokes to find the semicolon.
Yeah, I mean, you also got to think
of the point. Think of the point. But yeah, we've gone past that. I don't even know if they teach proper grammar and sentence structure in school anymore. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
I'm sure they do, but I have a feeling it doesn't make sense.
Or it's irrelevant.
Or feels irrelevant to them.
Okay.
Hey, we did have a comment, by the way. Nahian, you guys know Nahian? Nahian is my friend from Bangladesh. He's a family friend. He met Isaiah at Pitt. And he lives here, and he's a U.S. citizen now. I had him on my podcast.
Oh,
cool.
Yeah, I listened.
And Nahian, well, he's not a citizen. He's got his green card. He's working for becoming a citizen. I don't understand. He explained the process.
Yeah.
But I'm an ignorant native who doesn't remember what the process is. Sorry, buddy. But he says Abram's hair changes almost as much as the PA weather. Aren't we glad that he gave us such a meaningful comment?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
I think he's jealous. Is he bald?
No, but he's
that sounds like a bald guy.
He's nowhere near as good looking
It
as
sounds
him,
like a bald guy. I think he would take great offense to that.
Definitely a bald guy comment. Yeah, there you go.
You
we got 2 of them here.
You would actually really like Nahian. He's a lot of fun. He's a goofball, and he's a great guy.
Okay.
We should have him on.
Yeah, if he's
Nahian, if you're listening, come on.
So, which that whole talk about identity, and I'm really glad that actually went to different directions because that was really awesome. But it got me thinking about the question of our own identity and how we understand it. I know we kind of talked a little bit last month, Dan, about we talked about purpose, and you're like, I do have trying to figure out what my purpose is, I'm just going to do it. right? Or something to that effect.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah. But I do think it's important for us to know who we are, to know what matters to us, to know how we take. You know, you have any thoughts on that?
Important that we know who we are.
Do you know who you are? What is your identity? It's not a cat.
I think one of the big problems is that how do you answer that question?
Everybody has thought about who they are. Every single person on the face of this earth.
Almost every day I think about that. I have a choice: either be the reactive asshole, or the listening, understanding, kind,
or a mixture thereof.
Or sometimes, yeah. So there's always that choice, like as far as that character goes. That's every day.
So would you say who you are is a series of choices about how you live?
Yep.
Every moment, and I think for me it is that way. And it's not easy to choose that, to make that choice of that person that I'm going to be. You know, how I react is who I am.
Then that makes it as to whether you have a happy day or not. How you react to something is completely up to you.
Yeah.
There's no other ways about it. It's completely up to you. But we are it's was it Walt Whitman that did the thing that I came to a Y in the road?
That was Robert Frost.
Robert Frost, okay. We have so many of those constantly. I mean, just in this conversation, we have this. You know, we can choose to be serious. We can choose to be jovial,
or both at the same time.
Yeah. So we have a choice whether we're going to lie about something or we're going to tell the truth about something or any number of things. And all it does is go back to what our life experience is as to how we're going to deal with those things. But at the end of each day, I can be a different person.
So even at your wise ripe age. That is
68.
That is still a decision, a conscious decision that you have to decide.
Yeah, who you're going to be and how you're going to be about it. And you may become a different person every single day, hour, minute.
And it's a collaboration of those decisions throughout your life that
Mm-hmm.
is your identity.
Yep.
Nahyan says this is a fascinating conversation. I think these spectrums are arriving from a lack of purpose. For some reason, people are putting more emphasis on emotions.
He's talking about identity.
Yeah, he's kind of going to that. We may need to figure out how we can influence people to help them find their purpose.
Yeah, that's
a much better comment than the.
Hey, the first one's that he can come whenever he wants.
Free speech. He's American.
Almost.
Almost.
At heart.
At heart, yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so help to influence those people.
Yeah, that's
okay. What I'll say back to him. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Abe. I walked.
Yeah,
down.
I was just going to ask, like, how do you do that? How do you influence that many people, especially nowadays when no one wants to listen and everyone wants to speak?
Well, I know that's a lot of what has motivated me to do the podcast. That's what has motivated me to have relationships with people. Because, I feel like my dad taught me a lot of lessons. And I want to teach people the lessons that my dad taught me. Not just my dad, but other people. That's kind of what I feel like my role in life is, what my calling is. So for me, that's why I do what I do, to put it out there. And it has been able to help some people. I think that of all of this, though, while this stuff is, the tech side, the blogging, the podcast side is fun, the interpersonal relationship stuff is where we can make a difference.
Open our mouths. Talk. Open our mouths. Give people, when we have the chance, give people the benefit of what we've learned so far. And hopefully they'll be able to dissect something out of it that is going to work for them. But yeah, he's got a perfect. How do we get past this? How did we get here? So many people kept their mouth shut.
Yeah.
Now we've got to open our mouths.
Yeah. I agree with that. We've become too passive today.
Letting everybody. We don't want to We don't want to step on anybody's toes.
That, and then there's the overreaction of so maybe saying the right thing could be just totally disrespectful, and now it's not even going to. People aren't even.
Yeah, so they're not even going to listen to your message.
You better have compassion on people. Like I think about. So let's say that someone identifies as a cat. Like seriously, not as a joke. They really do.
Hey, you're an effing retard.
like I might think that.
Right.
But
Right.
do I care about that person? Like if I'm going to come to that person and say, just imagine for a second if I put myself in their shoes, all four of them. Sorry, that's a joke. Imagine I put myself in their cat ears for just a moment. How bad would it suck to live my life thinking that I'm a cat?
Right.
To really be that conflicted, to hate myself that much that this alter ego feels better.
I kind of do that with an individual that is getting a sex change and just they seem very, very confused, very tormented, and they think that this is what is going to bring them this place of, peace and a peace of mind, and statistics show that that's not true. But I actually had to change my thinking that way to have.
Instead of be disgusted,
yeah,
to actually have compassion.
Yeah, and then
it's like you care because this person's clearly hurting.
Yeah, it's coming from a place of broken and hurt, and it switches it to compassion.
And while my issue in my life might not be that, I've certainly got issues in my life that I don't get right either, and I have to keep that in mind too. So, like that's I think the difference between judgment and caring. Where I can look at the person and say, "Oh, I can't believe they would do that. It's so stupid. Such a horrible person." And I think about addicts. I've got a lot of friends right now that are addicts that are trying to recover. And they'll screw up again, which is part of the process. And I get frustrated with them, like, why? I have no desire to take Nyquil chicken or whatever, right? No desire to go snort something or shoot something in my veins. No desire to do that. So I can look at that person and I could judge that. I could judge that. But what happens is it's easy to judge them.
Yes, there you go.
And if I'm honest, brutally honest, I am just as addicted to foods that I shouldn't be eating and drinks that I shouldn't be drinking. Like, I had a Diet Coke. It's not good for me.
If we're all honest, things with ourselves that are internal.
Right.
That are,
and I have to be humble enough that when I come to that person, that it's the glass house, right? People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Doesn't mean that I can't say that what he's doing is wrong, but I have to be humble enough that position changes when we're on the same playing field.
Gotta get out of the house. Go into the street and have a conversation. Don't be throwing rocks.
The whole judgment thing just burns me, because a lot of people saying you shouldn't be judging. But it is wise to judge things, behaviors.
It's wise
attitudes.
to say shooting heroin is wrong. That's a wise thing. That's wise to make that judgment.
Yeah, but to condemn a person as far as acting as you're the moral superior.
Morality police.
Yeah, we need.
That's really interesting. That wording that you used that.
Look what's happening in Iran because of the morality police.
Insane. They have you guys been following what's happening?
I don't pay attention.
So
Iran is on fire right now, literally.
There's a woman, young, attractive, pretty woman, who's wearing her hijab wrong, and there's too much hair sticking out. And so they have, in Iran, they have the regular police that deal with the municipal laws, and then they have the morality police, which are an arm of the
secret police.
Yeah, and it's an arm of the
religion.
The religion of Islam, and in different cultures, it's expressed differently.
Right.
I was talking to a friend today about it who spent a lot of time in Saudi Arabia. They have the same thing there, but he said, yes, they walk around with a cane. He said, but it's more like you get a spanking. like, and it's to keep the young people in line is usually what it
But
is.
what's happening in Iran?
So Iran, the morality police arrested this woman and beat her, and she died in police custody.
Tortured her. Yeah.
Because her hair was showing.
Because her hair was showing, and now they are rioting in the streets.
Something like, what, 24, 25 cities now, I think?
Pushing back the security and the police, and
They've actually started live fire. And, yeah, it's this. A lot of people are conjecturing this may be the fall of Iran from inside.
Oh, wow. That
Yeah, because it is so tight.
Right.
They try to hold it so tight.
It doesn't work. It never has.
Nahyan says this, and I think he said it before we got into the Iran thing. Nahyan's actually a Muslim, and I have a lot of respect for him. We've had a lot of really good conversations. So he's not talking about that. He was talking about it before we did. But he says this, in third world countries, people are still trying to figure out how to put food on the table and a roof over their heads. It could be a first world spectrum where most of our problems are solved, basic necessities, and as a result, we don't get to work towards common goals as much. And
we don't get to because we're a first world country. Is that what he's saying?
I think that's what he's saying. Like we have all that division and all of that, like you're
different sects of kinds of people.
Yeah, we have all these different tribes of furries and people
we
who
don't
are
have real
identifying.
problems.
Yeah,
we don't have real
We don't have
problems.
to worry
Yeah.
about like
That's good.
dying every day. You know, like
Survival.
so we make problems.
Yeah.
It's empowerment.
We need like an asteroid to strike it.
So we make tribes,
Yeah.
and the people that are supposedly our ruling class, I hate those words, use those tribes to war against each other. It's like, watch this hand over here. You don't see what this hand's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Trump, as much as I like Trump, he was a master at that. Right? That's where he used the mean tweets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Look what I'm doing over here, and in the meantime, he's doing something else over here.
He basically used their tool against them.
Yeah.
That was what
Yeah.
has been done, is to weaponize people's divisions rather than to encourage us to.
And the great divider that we have there now is working it like there is no tomorrow. So
I think with his point with being the first world country, I thought about that. Like, if we went back to like hunter and gathering days, like have you ever been
an agrarian society,
yeah,
is what I think what you're talking about.
How much more communal we would be forced to be. We would like rely on one another, and things that really mattered, and stupid ideas of identifying as a cat.
Shut up and get out in the garden and weed.
Yeah.
You will not have food and you will die. Yeah. How about you go find a real cat and kill it so we can have something to eat tonight?
Yeah. Have you guys ever heard that? That it was said that major nations that rise, one of the things that rise in the culture is the confusion of sexuality before the
fall.
Before the fall of the empire.
I mean, we've seen that with
Rome was like
look at
that.
History of Rome, Greece.
I've heard that.
And I don't want to say the confusion of gender or sexuality as much as let's just say debauchery.
The abuse.
Like the cultures were built, and they wouldn't have built without a traditional family unit.
Right, after.
Like operating in a traditional family way.
Right.
It needed that to grow. And now it doesn't mean it was perfect 100% that, I mean, like,
right.
think of,
within reason.
Yeah, like Alexander grew Greece by, and he was as debauched as it comes, but that is, that sense of family morality as it applies to that starts to fade when people kind of have the freedom and luxury
of modern technology.
They have time.
Functions of society.
Yeah,
they don't have to fight to put food on the table today.
Yeah, you're not hunting or working the garden.
Right.
So that actually, this whole discussion, I love how this discussion keeps flowing without meaning to, because the next thing on my list is inflation.
Oh.
We may be at the place where we may be heading that direction. I read a
We already
are inflation.
No, where we're heading to the direction where we may have to be.
Oh,
where we might descend
gardens
into a
and
third
hunting.
world nation. I read a thing that said average middle class American's salary, or the value that they made in a year, has decreased by $4,000 based on how much prices have gone up and how much less than
So you are living on 12 months. You're living 12 months on what you used to make for 11 months.
or less.
Or less.
And if you go back to when Trump was in office, and you go back to that time frame, it was $4,000 a head.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually $8,000 less in that, because that's 2 years of it.
Right. You look at
The kids nowadays, they think all this is cool and everything else, and the government should give them everything and stuff like that. I've never lived through a recession. I've lived through two. I don't want to go back there. Been there, done that. It was not fun.
That's kind of why I wanted to talk about inflation, because you have lived through it. You have worked through it. You've seen how do we face this? I'm genuinely asking this question because I might not be a kid, but
we have to understand what caused this recession. What were the reasons for this one, or any of the other ones? We have to understand the problem first before we can correct it.
Well, I don't mean necessarily on that level, and I only say that because we have so little say in that. We can pick the people, but trusting them to do the job is another thing.
No, I mean the principles.
What got us here is the manipulation of our currency to print more of it.
Yeah.
To,
step back a little bit further.
Mm-hmm.
Step back to the decision made at the beginning of the pandemic to shut down, to just across the board, except for the big corporations, we got shut down. And there were arbitrary shutdowns. Look at what Governor Wolf did here in the state of Pennsylvania, just for an example. He just kind of threw darts at the wall and said, well, that one shuts down, this one stays open, this one shuts down. Mom and pop got blasted off the face of the earth, but yet you could still go to Home Depot or Walmart or Target. Those were all still open. But the little places, the backbone of this country, got shut down, and now they're getting slammed again. And then you start handing out money, trying to make it right, trying to pay money to everybody for something you've done. You can't spend it if you don't have it. Every single one of us knows that. Man, I'd love to have unlimited credit like that and never have to pay it back other than maybe an interest payment. Oh, please.
Well, the other thing that we add into that is on that upper level scale, the currency is always based on, the value of the currency is based on people's trust in it.
Yep.
And it is not any longer tied to a hard asset, which that happened many years ago.
1913.
And now the closest thing to that is it's tied to, but not as hard tied to gold and silver. It's soft tied to oil. So now we have foreign entities who are able to manipulate the energy markets. We have global,
when you slash your own wrist the first day in office,
So all of that aside, that's how globally and nationally it gets fixed. But I'm looking at my budget.
I'm not even so sure opening up the taps on oil and stuff like that is going to fix it right now. I think we're kind of far away from that.
Right, but I mean, the fixing it level is up here. We can vote, and we can shop where we're going to shop and support the corporations. That's about all we can do. Vote with our dollars, and we can vote with our vote to vote for people that we think are going to try to work towards correcting the issue. But how did you survive the 70s when all of that happened?
The 80s,
80s, and then we had another one, I think, in the late 90s. We had another one that went by. So Carter did a pretty good number on us.
Yeah. So after Carter, how did you survive that time frame when everything kind of haywire the first time?
Tighten the belts.
Yeah.
I mean, everything. I mean, you carpooled. You didn't eat out. I mean, it was really special if you had a Pizza Hut night.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe once a month if you're lucky in that. You know, you ate a lot of hot dogs, ate a lot of stuff like that. Kathy did a lot of homemade soups. We'd make meals stretch 5 or 6 nights.
Oh wow!
You know, things like that.
Too.
You gotta get a bigger pot.
Yeah, really. We had 5 sons, so it had to stretch. We had no choice. And then clothing got passed down. And that goes to the thing of this is what you have to wear, guys. I'm sorry, maybe you're going to get fresh, shoes for school, but you guys, we've got pictures of the same shirt being on 4 or 5 kids for school pictures, and stuff like that. And those are the things you did. Your car lasted longer. Everybody didn't get brand new cars every 2 years. Your tires. You literally ran your tires till you could read the air on the inside.
Well, I've been in a recession for the last.
I was going to say I've been in a recession for a long time. Then this sounds like my life.
but those are the things you did. You definitely lived within your means. Credit was you didn't use credit because how the hell are you going to pay it back?
Yeah.
If you have to have collateral to use the credit, then you lose everything.
This is very un-American, by the way.
What do you mean?
All these things, to do these things, is very.
No, I would say it's American.
Oh,
we have always done we've always done the things we needed to do to make it through to get to the other side. We always have.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the big things America does. We, if we're faced with an issue, we pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, for lack of a better word.
But now we have the answer is big government gives us a check. We can still do all these things.
Wait a minute, do you hear that? Do you hear those tornadoes and those graves?
What's that?
As the founding fathers are turning over. Listen,
are spinning.
So you guys, Nahyan said this. This is so cool to be able to. We didn't get to do this last time because we couldn't go live. Nahyan says, what made America the land of freedom was the very little control the government had over its people. It seems to be going backwards little by little when many people are willing to trade a little bit of their freedom for the illusion of safety. I hope my green card won't get revoked for saying that.
It might, dude.
It's true.
On your door, I'm sorry.
Perfect example. Look at the Patriot Act with 9/11, 9/11.
You ever notice they give something a name that's the opposite of what it is?
What it does,
yeah. The Patriot Act took so much freedom from Americans, and I don't think they recognize or ever understand how much freedom to privacy it was insane.
Still is. Because it had a sunset clause in it. Patriot Act did. It had a sunset clause. It was supposed to have disappeared 4 or 5 years ago. Thank you. We can do this again.
I almost voted for Obama because he spoke against it, and then when he got in there, we just.
You speak with fork and tongue.
They all do.
Yeah, on some level.
That's why. I know we're trying to solve the problems of America and solve the problems of the world, and I can solve the problems. I can barely solve the problems of my family and myself.
Hey, when you're sitting at the table, you're talking about bills and your problems with finances. What you're thinking is you just need more money given to you, right? That's how you throw more money.
Well, I feel like I need more money, but if they did that a year ago or 2 years ago, they gave us all more money.
When they did that, yeah.
And when they did that, it didn't actually. What it did is it made the money they gave us worth even less.
Right.
And the money that I'm now working harder for is worth less.
Your friend there, you just asked that question. Reagan put it: freedom is never more than one generation away from being lost.
Faster and faster.
Think about it. Doesn't take long.
Not fast. Yeah, he's a very wise man. He should be American.
He also said that this is a cool discussion, and he wants to be invited the next time we do it. So.
Did
I'm not sure where.
Already
Come on.
You.
I'm not sure where he's living right now. I know he kind of he's bounced around a little bit, so we'll have to find out. We'll have to make a trip up.
Yeah.
We got a spare bedroom, buddy. You can stay here.
For saying those words that he said, though, you would be deemed as a conservative right wing. It's far extreme right.
Oh, a far extreme right winger. Yeah. Well, it's funny because I don't think anybody, I think we've had this discussion before, I don't think anybody, no matter how conservative or how liberal you are, is 100% of anything. Like, you're not 100% red. You're probably mostly red with some blue spots.
You got blue spots?
You got blue spots. And,
I'm not going to show you, but yeah.
Oh, so let's switch out politics really quick.
With that said,
because Dwayne sent me like this giant list of some amazing questions.
Oh, that was a year ago.
It felt like that, didn't it? But I thought a couple of these would be really good. So let's ask this, and let's all kind of give a quick answer if we can. What is the most valuable life lesson that you have learned?
I asked that question.
You did.
I was in a great philosophical mood like that.
So, since you asked the question, why don't you start? What's the most valuable life lesson you've learned?
Most valuable? That's hard. I would say what comes to mind right now is when my dad died in 2015. It was the value of being in the moment with people you love, I think, and cherishing that, and it just brought it to a more meaningful. That's probably the most valuable lesson. So,
yeah. Abe, you haven't had a whole lot of life compared to the rest of us. What's the most valuable lesson you think you've learned in your life so far?
I mean, like, ones that I can remember that aren't just like, ingrained or whatever. I think I heard once from Mike Miller. He said when you're actually sorry, never say I'm sorry but something, because then it means nothing.
Yeah, never conditionalize it.
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, or if you offended someone, you don't say, I'm sorry that you were offended by that. Yeah. That's not an apology.
Yeah.
That's not an apology.
That's good marriage advice too.
Yeah, I do that sometimes.
Yeah. But this is how you took it. This is not what I meant.
I do think it's wise to be able to find something that you can apologize for. Legitimately. Like if you have to work out an issue with somebody and both of you have acted a fool, make sure you apologize for how you acted like a fool. And if you don't think you acted like a fool, think harder, because you probably did something.
Don't say I'm sorry you acted like a fool.
No, don't say I'm sorry you acted like a fool. Don't say that. You say I'm sorry I acted like a fool when I said this. I think probably the most valuable life lesson I've learned. I've got a lot that I've learned. I think probably I'm going to tell this as quick as I can. There was a girl that was really cute. I met her at college, and I really wanted to date her. Couldn't get up the nerve to tell her. Kind of finagled it so that we would be working together on some projects in the fall semester. Went home for the summer, and she died with a heart attack. And I was pretty devastated. And the next fall rolls around, and I meet Zoe that first week. And as soon as I realized that I liked her, actually we're coming up on the 25th anniversary of the date that I fell in love with her, or knew that I fell in love with her, which was October 3rd. As soon as I knew, I'd tell her. I'm like, I'm not waiting. Because if I wait, you're going to die.
You're gonna get in a car accident.
So, I mean, maybe it could have not been the perfect lesson in the right way. But the point of it is, though...
It got you somewhere.
It got me somewhere. Yeah. No, but the point of it, though, is that, don't wait to tell somebody you love them. Because...
Tomorrow's not guaranteed. No.
Very similar to what that resonates with me, too.
Daniel, what about you?
Oh, man. You ever seen Gibbs' List of rules?
Yeah, let's get some rules.
NCIS.
I just started watching it.
Okay, now Gibbs has his list. You know what I'm talking about? No? Okay, he's got a list of things to say, or his list of rules to live by. I mean, they're up into the 50s by now. But I've got so many life lessons I've learned, and most of them I have learned the hard way. I guess, don't say it because you can't take it back.
Don't what?
Don't say it because you can't take it back. And then, like you said, take the chance to go see the old person, take the chance to talk to a friend, take the chance to say I love you. Those are probably some of the greatest. I mean, yeah.
I think the most important life lessons are always tied to relationships with people.
Don't break a woman's heart.
Because she'll break your face. That's the second.
No.
And your pocketbook.
It'll be there for the rest of your life. But yeah, there's. Maybe I'll do that next.
That's a good idea. So you did your EDC. So if you guys haven't seen his everyday carry posts in the Manlihood Man Cave, you need to hop in there and look for the posts by Dan Karrasch in there. He's got several of them where he breaks down
12, I think,
12.
is where I finished up today.
12 things that you need to carry with you every day. I want to take those, Dan, and I'm going to make a blog post. I'll put them all together, and I'll credit you with it and put it on the blog.
It's up to you.
So that you can reference it, however from there. Because I think I
had to go through and copy each one and put it in an email to the people that wanted it. Yeah.
So I'll make it simpler for you to share.
Okay, cool.
One nice post.
Maybe I'll do that next, though. What have I learned?
Yeah.
I don't know. Points.
Dan rules for life.
Oh, boy.
I'll have to check it out.
The other question, we'll just ask this one real quick, too, if you can. I like to ask on my podcast guests this. And I'm tweaking your question a little bit. And it's this. What would you tell the 10-year-old version of yourself if you have the chance to talk to her?
Did we do this last week?
Did we? I don't think so.
Not on the Fight Club.
Not on the Fight
10-year-old version, huh?
10-year-old version of yourself. I got thrown for a loop because I asked a guest this, and he turned around and said, "What would you tell the 10-year-old version of yourself?" And I didn't know. But I'll start. I would tell the 10-year-old version of myself that you're not stupid, you're not ugly, you're not horrible. And just because you don't have friends now doesn't mean that you're not going to have amazing friends later on in the rest of your life. You're going to have friends. You're going to have so many friends that you can't remember their names, and you're going to love so many people, and so many people are going to love you. You are lovable, and don't spend all your money on cheese doodles and Mountain Dew.
I think mine would be, you do not have to fit in with a group. That is my biggest stumbling block in my life. You do not have to fit in with a group. You are your own group.
You're your own self.
Mm-hmm. That was what I would tell my 10-year-old.
I would definitely tell myself that.
What do you guys?
When I was 10, that's probably when my mom and dad, we stopped going to church, and then a sequence of events, of consequences, were pretty dramatic, I think, from that moment. So I would probably tell myself that the foundation that was laid for you growing up is going to be the most important thing that you're going to build off of the rest of your life. I would say lean into it, grow in it, and trust God for this guidance that you're going to need. And I struggled with a lot of identity problems. And I went to group. I was a jock, I was a prep, I was a geek, and I was a punk, and I was a anarchist, So,
were you ever a cat?
I was never a cat.
Okay, good.
Yes. They didn't exist.
Gerbil, but never a cat.
Yeah. That's probably what I would say, is hang on to those things that are really important, and maybe you'll make better decisions than where I am at now. I'm in a better place than I am at now. Your future self. So, that's probably what I'd say.
Sure.
I'd probably say eat more.
Eat more?
Yeah.
So eat the Cheetos and Mountain Dew, huh? What have you been telling him?
Jesus.
You guys,
Have you seen me when I
You
was
trying to
10?
feed
You
this
saw
child
me.
or what?
You saw me when
Yeah,
I was
you were
10.
skinny SO gun. Let me tell you.
Anything. He was so picky.
I really thought you guys just kept him chained on a wall someplace and let him out just to come scouts.
So the rule was we were a little more generous than your parents were, and your rule with your kids. It was, this is what we're making for dinner. You have to try it. If you don't like it, you can go make yourself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
You ate a lot of
You eat a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
Or you
He's
can have,
always
like,
a better cook than that.
He just is so picky. And now, of all of my kids, I think Abram is probably the best cook, and he's trying new things all the time. And like when we hear from him, he's all of the kids when they like got married, we were going to give them a copy of the family cookbook. Abram wanted it sooner, and so he got it, and he uses it more than anybody else.
Ah, cool. Very cool.
So he's actually a really good cook and eats all kinds of things now.
So you would have told your 10-year-old self, eat more food.
Yeah.
That is not a first world problem.
I was starving to death for like most of my life.
Like we'd go get a checkup and like, can you eat more? I'm like,
The doctor told me I needed to eat 5 meals a day,
and he wouldn't eat.
And see, that's where we did okay until the kids figured out the neighbors ate 3 times a day. So yeah. You know, though, the other thing I think, you know, after this is all cool, what we would tell our 10-year-old self, but the same thing I would tell my 10-year-old self is, buddy, you got trials coming ahead of you.
Yeah.
You better figure out how to handle them. But by the time it's all over, you're going to love your life. I don't know. I don't think I wouldn't like to change a whole lot, honestly.
Yeah, because if you learn from those lessons and failures and those trials, and it's valuable.
You and I talked about it too. You change one thing in your life, butterfly effect takes effect. And okay, where would I be? Would I have my 5 sons that I absolutely adore, or love? Would I have this wonderful wife that I have? Would I have this? Would I have that? Where would I be now? Would I trade it off? No. But I certainly tell my 10-year-old self, hey, you got some shit coming at you. Pardon me, stuff coming at you. It's fine. But I don't want to get you banned. So. But yeah, that I think I would tell myself that too at the same time.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. Yeah, 10-year-old me, that was before, 13-year-old me wanted to die. 13-year-old me wanted to die. And it wasn't until 15-year-old me came around that I started that. I started to see there was something worth. And yeah, I've had a lot of trouble, a lot of trials, a lot of struggles, but for whatever reason, I've been blessed. I know you've been through a lot of crap, and I've been very fortunate that the crap that I have been through wasn't that hard. Most of the hardest part of my life was 13, and looking back on it now, yeah, I've been through some crap that was really hard, but nothing that ever made me want to die. Nothing that ever made me want to hurt somebody else badly, Nothing that ever, I've been blessed in that way. I've had a pretty good life.
Why, if you could go back to your 10-year-old self, why wouldn't you say, hey, our dad is going to die this date, da-da-da. Why wouldn't you say that? Because I mean, right?
I wouldn't want to know.
You wouldn't want to know, right? Because if you knew...
Okay.
That's...
So if we bring up the question that way, right?
Right.
Like, is there one thing that you could go back and change? I just talked about this today with my friend. Okay, this gonna get emotional for a second. Sorry. Before my dad died, he had cancer, and he beat cancer. He was cancer free, and it came back. And they were going to do a surgery where they were going to take out his voice. And they were going to have to, it was going to be hard. It was going to be bad. He had suffered so bad through all the chemo and radiation. That first time he lost so much weight. He was not healthy. And he said to me, right before the surgery, he says, I'm strong enough to do this. I told me, no, you can't do that. You've got to do this. And he had the surgery, and you know, it didn't heal right. There was all kinds of drainage. The drainage caused pneumonia, and they put him on a ventilator and under a coma, and that's what ended up killing him. I would talk to him 1 or 2 times after that. If I could go back and change one thing, I would just say, Dad, if you're ready to go, you can go. That's fine. I support your decision. I know that you're tough enough to do this, but if you don't want to do it, you don't have to.
That's what you would have.
That's what I would. If I could change one thing, that's probably one of my biggest. I have a lot of regrets. That's probably my biggest regret.
What did that do for your faith? Is my question for you. Did it make it deeper?
It didn't wreck my faith. It didn't shipwreck my faith.
Losing your dad.
Because
No,
for me,
no. What he's just talking about there, of saying to his dad, "Hey, we need you."
Right.
So maybe what it did was it has forced me to rely on my heavenly Father rather than my earthly Father.
Okay.
And in that way my faith has become stronger. I didn't. I not. After he died, because we prayed so hard that he would be healed, right up to the very last time. You know, just prayed so hard for that. It didn't make me trust God less, but I did have a little bit of anger with God.
He can handle it.
Exactly. God can handle it. I was hurt. I was upset. But I also know, like for me, my faith, I know that God is good. I have no doubt about that. I've seen so many miracles that I have no doubt that he could have, you know, raised my dad up like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't. Was I angry about that? A little bit. I'm not.
How do you know the trial wasn't yours, not your dad's?
Yeah, and that's the other end of it, is that my dad had a strong faith. My dad did get healed. He is healed.
Yes, he did.
Right.
He's breathing and talking and making animal balloons with Jesus. You know? So.
No, he's down in the kids' park. Jumping
exactly,
out. There you go.
Exactly. He's down with all the kids making animal balloons dressed up like a clown and having a blast in heaven. You know? And he's blowing them up without a pump because he can breathe. So I know my dad's healed. But it wasn't the way I wanted. And so that was hard. Yeah, and it was hard. I can't say that it strengthened my faith, but or deepened my faith, but I do know that it didn't wreck my faith.
Put some patches here and there, maybe.
What's that?
I don't know. Maybe put some patches here and there that were needed.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That helps. Real pain like that helps you get really. It reveals your real weaknesses and your real vulnerabilities.
That honestly, I can say has happened.
Yeah.
The pain, I've learned to be more real about the pain that I'm feeling,
Right.
and started to learn, because my entire life has been pain avoidance.
Mm-hmm.
I do not want to feel pain. I will do whatever it takes to not feel pain. And I had no choice but to feel that pain, and I felt it for. I have felt that pain every day for almost 4 years. And
It's
so
good. It's healthy.
I think that has made me a little bit stronger.
Yeah, we need it. We have to have it. You can't do
I might argue with you.
it.
With your premise there that we need that pain.
Mm-hmm.
I think that goes back to the thing is, how do you react to it? Does it come through to you as pain? If you choose to look at it a different way? I mean, I'll go back to when I found out I supposedly had 3 years to live.
How many years ago was that?
27 years now. 4th of July. I played the "Oh Poor Me" card for maybe a week, and from there it was change your thought, because if you don't, this is going to kill you. And I changed my thought was, okay, fine, one foot in front of the other until such time as I can't put a foot in front of the other.
If it wasn't for that pain, those decisions had never been needed to be made.
No, if it wasn't for that diagnosis, there was no pain in it, honestly.
There was no fear?
Okay, now we're getting into some really deep stuff. I had fear. Do you remember the miracle at the Catholic Church on Walker? Were you here then?
I was in Port Allegheny at the time. I remember hearing about it. That was when...
I'll witness right now. I'll witness to it. It's Christ's face on the wall. I got a call, come down and see this. And it was there. There was also a lot of stuff about the Holy Mother in that. And there was a night we kept watch. We kept vigil. Because we weren't sure we'll try to get in there and clean the wall and to do this and do that and disprove this and everything like that. And
multiple eyewitnesses.
Oh yeah, multiple eyewitnesses.
Yeah, it was in the newspaper.
It was on the news in Buffalo, TV reporters down, everything like that. But I was sitting there one night and saying my rosaries. And I remember that from back being a Catholic school kid. Saying my rosaries and my eyes closed. And I had this feeling that if I opened my eyes, the Blessed Mother was going to be standing right in front of me. I didn't dare open my eyes. I was scared to death to do it. After that, there was no more fear. I don't know fear.
That was before the death.
No, this was well after.
Well,
I used to go down to that church. You ever walk into some place and you may have never been there before in your life, but all of a sudden it's the most comfortable place in the world. That little church, in its old form before they beautifulized it, if you will, the way that it is now. I don't know if you guys have been in there or anything else. I mean, it's beautiful. For a little church, it is absolutely magnificent. But before that, I mean, it was shabby. And Father Bob would keep it open 24/7 back like they used to keep churches. And I used to go down there. Kathy would wake up in the middle of the night and I'd be gone. She knew where it was. I was down sitting in the back pew of the church. But I would walk in there and it was like, as soon as I walked in that door, somebody would have a warm robe over my shoulders. And it just was, there was no fear. There was nothing. It was just utter peace.
And this was after, but when the diagnosis happened and all that, what I meant by pain is like a reality of like I could just, this would be all over in my life too, man. That's what I meant by pain.
We can do that any minute, any second. You walk out that door, you could get clipped.
Right, but we're not conscious of that all the time. Right? Most people, most of the time.
Understood.
Right. Yeah.
I don't necessarily think I'm not one of these people. Okay, I'm not one of these people, and I won't try to change somebody else's mind. But I'm not one of these people that believe you've got to have pain to grow. I really don't believe that.
I'd say that maybe I think that maybe you don't have to have it to grow, but the purpose of it, if you do have it, is to.
Like that's.
So if you do have pain, you should channel it into growth.
Mm-hmm. It's the healthiest and best way to heal.
I have a hard time with the people that pursue it, and I know that I like for me to lose weight, to get healthy, I've got to work hard. It hurts. It's hard for me to pursue that. You know, the no pain, no gain philosophy, it's hard for me. Like, I have to really drum up. Like, if I know that something's going to hurt, I don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's a hurdle that I work through.
Wait, are you talking about mental pain or are you talking about physical pain?
It could be all of the above. Emotional, mental, physical. Anything that really, like, brings the reality check of how fragile our life is, you know, or how valuable and important your spouse is to you, you know, to really, the roots of the meaning and purpose of your life just go deeper because of something very painful. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And like going back to what you were saying about like you don't want to work out or anything because
I was
it
going to go
hurts.
there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've been there because I've been working out with him like twice a week, and like, are your knuckles still busted up?
No, and you know what else? The pain. Do you remember when we first started? How much pain I was in?
Yeah.
Every
couldn't
like,
do anything.
Like I was in so much pain, I was bathing in Bengay. Like when I first started working out, for instance, I would get up in the morning and I would hurt. I would go to work, and they were like, I was actually that offensive guy. I was the offensive guy in the office because it smelled like Bengay or essential oils or whatever I would put on that day to try to like every joint hurt.
That's a metaphor for trying to insulate yourself from pain, and then the lowest level of exposure to it, you just have no tolerance.
And so it was like that. It was like that for probably the first month. I hurt so bad. I would come home and I would hurt, and I would work out and I'd hurt, and it was just. And I've done this before. I've probably lost 500 pounds and gained back. You know what I mean? As many times as I've lost a bunch of weight and gained back, maybe even more than that. But this time, it hurt so bad, and I had to push through that physical pain. And now, today was the first day in a long time that I actually, like, when I got up from my chair a few times today, it hurt. And I have another theory on why some of that's better. I've also been sleeping well. Didn't sleep well last night, and I was in pain and all through the day as well. So I think that getting moving more, being more active, and sleeping better, and even eating better for the most part has helped that inflammation, that physical pain. But when we started, that physical pain was so severe for me. It was emotional pain too. It was hard. It was hard.
Think about how bad your hands hurt when you were doing the boxing and stuff. Like we would bust up our knuckles like every day. They would just be bleeding, and
that actually didn't hurt because it just sucked because my knuckles were like.
It's a metaphor.
That's why I have to come home and work out and put myself through some physical, conflict, because I sit all day and I don't have anything that challenges my body. So if I don't, then I stress myself. I have to stress my body, and then I don't stress myself.
Exercise is one of the best stress relievers.
Yeah, very.
Are you still doing physical therapy with your leg and stuff?
No, I can't right now.
Right now?
I pressure wash the darn porch. I just constantly shuffle back and forth when you pressure wash, and I managed to open up about quarter-size blister on my good foot. So I've been up to wound plank a couple of times on that. So consequently, I'm sidelined again now until we get that healed, which means another couple of weeks that I can't go to the Y and do the things that I'm supposed to be doing there, or the physical therapy, or any of it.
Because I know that
that would be
when we first talked about that process for you, and we started having to do physical therapy, you almost sounded excited about doing the physical therapy.
I am. Because I knew if I didn't, it started when I was up in Erie at CLC, Community Living Center at the VA. If I didn't do it, I wasn't going to get a leg. I'd be one of these guys, be end up in a wheelchair or a mobility chair the rest of his life, and no. I don't want to be there. So consequently, here I am.
What about swimming? It's like moving in the water.
I've had my fellow swimming. I was on the swim team. I was a diver and everything else. And it's like, no, I'll work out and I will do. I'll work cardio. But it's just not. Kathy swims, and that's her gig. And I don't want to get into something that we maybe end up being competitive about. Yeah. I'd rather see her do this on her own. And I don't suss her about it or anything like that. I'll ask her, hey, how'd you do today? Did you get any extra laps or another half lap or something like that? And if she did. If she didn't, well, that's up to her. It's not, I told her, I said, it's completely her gig.
Yeah.
So.
Well, guys, do you have anything else we want to talk about before we wrap up our conversation here today?
Well, it was nice meeting you.
Yeah, nice meeting you too. Hope to see you back here again. And I didn't see where you're that shy.
I feel like I'm very shy.
No.
Dwayne was nervous before we started it, but I think he did a great job.
You held your own.
It feels like a conversation, right?
Yeah.
That's what I want this to be like. So,
yeah.
So
it is a conversation.
Exactly. And I was really excited to be able to have conversations with our listeners, and so even if we only had one, I think Rob Thompson was on there for a little while too, but that's cool. We had a little bit on the mind, and we'll have more once it goes on the podcast.
Where one hopes many.
Exactly. So, well, guys, thank you guys for listening to us today, and I'm really glad you guys took the time to be with us. Love you guys. Care about you. See you next time.
If you want to be a better man, check out our website, manlihood.com, for blogs, videos, and more from our Manlihood team. And you can also join our private Facebook group, Manlihood Man Cave, where you can meet up with a band of brothers who will challenge you and help you on your journey of manhood. This episode is produced by Hatcher Media for manlihood.com. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you're listening to the show. Tune in again for more of the Manlihood Mancast.